Hello, and thank you for tuning into this video on activities for people living with dementia. So before we talk about activities you can do for people living with dementia, it's important to talk about how participation in activities changes for someone living with dementia. So for those diagnosed with dementia, the disease will often progress to the point where the individual is no longer able to independently participate in their daily activities, such as transportation, taking medications, and even super basic things such as dressing and grooming. The individual will often feel feelings of loss over their inability to work, drive, and take part in leisure activities. And they often feel removed from intimate family relationships and social interactions due to not being able to participate in activities as they typically would. They often find simple everyday tasks increasingly difficult, and there's many factors that influence their daily activities, including mental decline, motor impairment, and behavioral and psychological symptoms. So, why is engaging in activities important for people living with dementia? Well, individuals living with dementia who participate in everyday activities have been shown to have a higher quality of life and higher cognitive scores than those who do not participate in everyday activities. Physical activity, in particular, has a number of psychological and health benefits. They have been shown to improve a set of symptoms referred to as neuropsychiatric symptoms. These symptoms include agitation, apathy, anxiety, depression, and hallucinations. And physical activity can also improve mood, sleep, motor skills, memory, communication, and reduce a risk of falls and slow the mental decline. Important to note that nothing can stop the mental decline, but this can slow it. You also can't reverse the mental decline in any way, but this can slow the progression of it. And some research also suggests that physical activity can reduce caregiver burden and stress. So some things to consider when planning activities for people living with dementia. Have a plan for activities and try to keep things consistent. It's nice if you can get into a routine of different activities for the person. Just to have that sense of routine for an individual with dementia is very important and can really help the individual a lot. Plan ample time for activities. Important to note that a lot of these activities will take longer than they typically would for someone with dementia. So just be sure to factor that in when you're planning time to do an activity with an individual with dementia. Um, Having a prior understanding of the person and what they enjoy helps to plan appropriate and enjoyable activities for the person. So just looking at things they've enjoyed in the past, topics they enjoy, those kinds of things can help you plan enjoyable activities for the person. And then try not to overstimulate the person. Um, a good way to do this is having a nice, quiet, calm environment. Excess noise and things like that can really overstimulate the person and sometimes cause them to be overwhelmed. And picking times of the day when the person feels best might take some trial and error to figure that out, but they might enjoy doing activities in the morning. Maybe someone is feeling better in the evening and they'd rather do activities then. Really just trial and error, but a lot of times there's a good time of day to do it and a not as good time of day to do it. And then planning activities that at least one of these things here, so maybe they make up for things they may not be able to do anymore, promote self-esteem in some way, maintain skills that they still have and haven't lost, um, and then provide just an opportunity for enjoyment, pleasure, and socialization if possible as well. So making sure to create a safe environment for activities is also very important. So some ways to do that, keeping things clean and free of obstacles to reduce the risk of falls in any way. Keeping background noise at a minimum. As I said, you don't want to overstimulate the person and cause them to become overwhelmed. So trying to keep background noise as minimal as possible. Having adequate lighting just so the person is able to see the activity that you guys are doing and able to see, maybe you have to demonstrate something, they're able to see that appropriately. Keeping the area free of easily broken objects just gives you one less thing to worry about, keeps the individual safe and any valuable objects safe as well. And then keeping the area uncluttered as well kind of goes along with trying not to overstimulate the person, um, cause them to become overwhelmed. So all these are good steps to create a safe environment for the individual. And then some considerations while doing the activities. Allowing the person to take their time. It may take a little bit of time, a little more time than normal for the person to really process what they're doing or come up with an idea for something, those kinds of things. So just allow the person to take their time with whatever the activity is and not try not to rush them. Having multiple ideas for activities as well. You may come in with an activity and they may be really defiant that they don't want to do that. And so just having a couple backup ideas for things that you could do with the person is a good idea as well. Keeping activities simple and easy. Overly complex projects, activities aren't going to be as successful. They really won't be able to understand and comprehend what you're wanting them to do. So just nice, simple, and easy activities. And then focusing on one thing at a time is also a good strategy as well. Um, again, not overstimulating the person. A lot of times people with dementia aren't able to focus as much or as well, I should say. And focusing on one thing at a time helps them to be able to focus easier. And then going along with that, giving one instruction at a time and using short, simple sentences so that they're able to focus on that and it gives them less to process as well. And if the person is struggling, try breaking down the activity into simple, manageable steps, just nice, smaller chunks, um, in order to help the individual understand and be more successful in the activity. So some activities to stimulate the brain. These are good mental activities to help with cognitive abilities. As I said, you can't reverse the mental decline or stop it, but you can slow it down, and these activities are good for that. So simple arts and crafts, simple card games, word games, puzzles, knitting, and then just engaging in any old hobby that may not be listed here. But those are all really good activities to help stimulate the brain. And then some activities here to help stay active. Um, a note here, always check with the individual's doctor to see what kinds of activities or exercises are safe for the person to do. Some of these may not be safe for certain individuals, so it's always important to check what they can do. But the following activities here can be good options to help the individual stay active. Walking is probably the best one and most common one. Also really good if you can go on a walk with the person. Um, Good socialization there, good physical activity. That's a great one. But some other ones here, some stationary bike. If you have that in the house, that's a good option, if appropriate for the person. Some light gardening, you can do that with the individual. Always a fun one. Making a meal together, trying to keep it kind of a simple meal. Balloon volleyball is kind of a fun one. We probably all played as kids, like keep up the balloon or whatever, and kind of similar, but you can have something in the middle almost as like the net to hit over, or you can just sit across from each other, hit it back and forth. That's some good physical activity for the individual and can be a fun one. And just general housework, just some simple household tasks, doing those with the person. It's a productive activity and it's good physical activity as well. And here we have some reminiscence activities. Um, so what these are kind of involving positive memories. And so research shows that activities that involve reliving some of these positive memories that provides positive feelings and feelings of deep satisfaction for the individual. So some of these activities that can provide the person the opportunity to reminisce include looking through old photos. So they might have old photo books, albums, things like that. Looking through some of those old photos, reading a favorite book with them, listening and singing along to old favorite songs. They may flip through old magazines, catalogs, memorabilia. You might watch an old movie or TV show with them, and even interacting with pets, even if it's not a pet, if it's not the specific pet they had, of course, um, just petting a dog, um, may evoke positive memories of dogs in the past. We had that with my grandfather who had dementia, and we brought my family brought their dog down to see him, and he had a lot of positive memories associated with dogs, and it was a really enjoyable experience for him. So some sensory activities. So sensory activities can involve any of the five senses and can provoke positive feelings and fond memories. So some different sensory activities that you could try include smelling flowers or herbs, eating favorite foods, feeling different textures. Brushing their hair can be a nice relaxing one. Giving a hand, neck, or foot massage, if appropriate, for your relationship with the individual. And petting an animal is another really good one. Important to note that there are some sensory experiences that can be distressing for the person. Like a good example is if the person is like a veteran, sometimes the smell of gasoline can be distressing, evoke symptoms of PTSD and those kinds of things. So just ensuring that whatever sensory experience you're giving them will evoke positive memories and not negative ones is a good note as well. So we're going to dive into some specific activities for each stage of dementia. Dementia is divided up into three stages: early, middle, and late stage, also referred to as mild, moderate, and severe. So in the early stage of dementia, people often stay largely independent and still have most of their cognitive abilities. They may have difficulty with memory and managing complex tasks, but some good activities for this stage can include reading books, crosswords, other puzzles are good in this stage, gardening together, cooking or baking together, and still attending social events. Really keeping that social life as much as possible for as long as possible is also going to be very beneficial. Getting into the middle stage of dementia, in this stage, you'll have the symptoms become more noticeable, and the individual will typically need more support in their everyday life. They may begin to struggle recognizing familiar faces and places, and they may have difficulty with tasks that require multiple steps. And important to remember that activities can be broken down into multiple steps to help individuals, especially in this stage. But good activities for this stage can include painting or making a scrapbook, some good simple crafts there, singing old songs, again, evoking those positive memories are some really good ones, going on short walks with the person, getting that physical activity in, always good. And doing simple chores around the house, also a good way to get that physical activity in and be productive at the same time. And lastly, here we have activities for the late stage of dementia. So in this stage, individuals often have significant memory loss and they can have difficulty communicating and recognizing loved ones. Activities involving sensory and emotional experiences are especially beneficial in this stage. So with that in mind, some good activities include feeling a soft blanket, squishing clay. Those are some really good sensory ones, some nice textures that they will likely enjoy. Listening to familiar music, always a good one. Some good reminiscence activities there. Same with looking at old photos. And gentle massages with a favorite lotion, again, if appropriate. Um, a favorite lotion that's a good sensory experience. So providing that good uh, smell with the sensory experience of the massage, often a really good one, again, if appropriate. So here are the references I used to get the information for this presentation. Feel free to check any of those sources out for more information. Um, but that's all I have for this presentation. I want to thank you for listening. I hope it was beneficial for you, and I hope you can take something and apply it with your loved one, and I hope it is successful for you. So thank you again for listening.